cabinet. Store the ammunition separately and lock it up. You can help stop firearms tragedies before they reach my emergency department. Be responsible, prevent a tragedy. Thank you.
You're watching this?
Without us?
Wow, you are home early.
Watch the hottest new releases and thousands of other movies with Rogers On Demand. Now playing Snow White and the Huntsman. Go to channel 100 to order.
Thursday on Daytime, celebrity chef Michael P. Clive cooks fall fare in the daytime kitchen.
And we'll introduce you to a new medical device called VenoWave VW5, which has proven to prevent deep vein thrombosis. That's Thursday on Daytime.
Hi, I'm Bill Hogg. This week on Let's Talk Leadership, the Chief People Officer, yes, that's his official title, from Ceridian, Canada, headquartered in Markham. Let's Talk Leadership, Thursday at 6 p.m. on Rogers TV.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers or Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Trending in York Region. I'm your host, Gila Marto. Joining Maddie and I is Alan Goldstein. He's a lawyer and he's on the Beverly Glen Ratepayers Association Traffic Committee. And welcome, Alan,
Thank you,
to
Gila.
the segment. And I just also want to mention that we have some comments from some viewers through Facebook and Twitter. So you can look for me on Facebook and Twitter, at Gila Joy on Twitter, and send me your comments. I'm going to be running polls all the time for the different shows. Thank you very much. Alan, you've been listening to the first segment of the show. Any thoughts?
Well, the first segment was quite interesting. I'm one of those people that won't take any form of mass transportation. That's a relatively new thing. I used to take it up until about 10 years ago. It's not convenient. It's not cost effective vis-a-vis a car. It's not timely, doesn't get me where I want to go. I think those are some of the reasons that people don't take it, and if you want to get people using rapid transit, mass transit, you need to address those things.
Even when you have to go to the courthouse downtown?
Well, when I have to go to the courthouse downtown, I have a choice. I can pay the TTC fare, and the TTC is less than a 2-minute walk from my office, or I can get into my car and be comfortable and pay for parking. And with the cost of the TTC, the difference may be $5 or $10. And for me, it's not something that I want to do. I don't want to have to deal with the crowds. I don't want to have to deal with the stoppages all along the way every few minutes. And that's actually what took me away from the TTC, was the number of times that it stops on the track. I can control where I go, when I go, how I get there.
Well, that's the problem with the Yonge subway line, is it stops all the time and the switches are over capacity, and they have to fix that line whether they expand it or not. The reality is that I think that they're trying to get people like Alan. I think he's a perfect example of somebody that, you know, this whole social experiment of getting people to take public transit, they're very anxious to see people like Alan take public transit, and they're not being successful creating sort of the air-conditioned, nicer Viva buses. So now they're getting a little more angry, and they're going to say, well, we're going to make it difficult for Alan to take his car. You're not going to be able to find parking soon downtown. They're building on all the parking lots. They're raising the fees of parking. Even that didn't seem to dissuade too many people. What other negative things do you think that they can do to get Alan on the bus? And if any of you see Alan on a bus, please take a picture, post it on Facebook or Twitter.
It's been a while.
I want to see it.
Well, I mean, let's get realistic. You know, as we get older, we get more comfortable with our luxuries, and part of that is having your own car. And, you know, we have careers, and you know, like I said earlier, that buses are normally, I think, that many local residents or local workers or students use the bus. However, having said that, I've always felt there was sort of a mentality in some government that there's a war against the car. And so we see public transportation infrastructure, which I'm fully supportive of, smart infrastructure, but I'm not in supportive of making that infrastructure or shrinking that for car users. Because the reality is there are, I don't know what the stats are, there's I think 2 cars per household or something like that. And so that's the reality, that's the numbers. So there's got to be some sort of a balance. I find that in the government mentality, especially in York Region, is shoving this whole system of transportation down our throats and not understanding and listening to what the public wants. We need to support infrastructure for public transit, absolutely. We need to make it smart and viable. We need to make it cost effective. We need to make it able so that people are able to get to their destinations in the shortest amount of time. But at the same time, we have to respect and understand there are people that are driving their cars. And most people that work in York Region, live in York Region, work outside of that. And
they're penalizing us.
Yeah.
They're penalizing us, and as anybody involved in human behavior would know, if you want to make change, you have to positively reinforce people's behavior, not penalize us. So when I'm talking about penalizing us, I'm talking about, for example, the bus lanes. In my opinion, I'm not an expert on this, but in my opinion, there could be nothing more detrimental to the environment than the bus lanes. You take my car, you take away the bus lanes, and you've now gone from 4 lanes to 6 lanes of traffic, and I can get downtown in maybe 25 minutes. Or to my destination, let's say, in half the time. But when you're squeezing 3 lanes of traffic into 2, now I'm sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic with my exhaust spewing out the back of my car and destroying the environment. So it's not, in my opinion, and you can multiply that by hundreds of thousands of cars in the city. So it's not efficient for the environment, and it is a way to get me into mass transit by penalizing me. I was a mass transit user like you in Montreal. One of the reasons I used it in Montreal was because it was convenient. When I say convenient, I mean it reached into the city, it reached into the suburbs. I could walk to, the people that lived in the suburbs could, for the most part, walk to.
Or take one easy bus that came every 10 minutes and went to the subway. And I think that should be the focus.
When I was a student in Ottawa, I would take the bus. It was, the bus, the local bus stop was right outside the door. It took every 5 minutes, went to the main bus. And it had a dedicated bus lane.
It is the same way. I'm from Ottawa.
And it went straight to the university. It was so convenient.
So
I don't see that.
What people want in York Region, in my opinion, you tell me if you agree or not, what people want in York Region right now from public transit, for the most part, there are those who, like I said, they have to take public transit. But the rest of them, that mushy middle, what they want is an easy way to get to the subway. So first of all, the subway has to come a little further north. It has to reach into York Region. And they want to know that there is one bus that's going to come maximum every 15 minutes, not every 20 minutes or half an hour. I would say more like every 10 minutes, even 5 minutes during rush hour, and take them one bus, a 10-minute walk from their house to the subway. And if we could just look at York Region and at least focus every year another 10% have that, and another 10. We can't do it, with the snap of our fingers, but we have to look at the map and we have to go neighborhood by neighborhood by neighborhood and examine street by street. And if we have to hire students even to do that and say, okay, this person, each address, and there could be a computer program even to do that. I'm sure it wouldn't be that difficult to say how far they have to walk. Oh, it's not within 10 minutes. We have to change the route. That if we could start off that, say, 30% of the people in York Region, then 40% of the people in York Region, that most people should be a 10-minute walk to a bus that comes very often that takes them directly to a subway stop.
Or a GO train stop.
Or a GO train stop. That's fair too.
But it's not brain science, Gila. And I spoke about this a little bit during my 2010 election campaign. I did speak about, and I spoke about it early on the show. You simply have buses that go down Yonge Street. All of these pickup places are very close within residences. People will walk there. It's a cheap bus ride. It goes straight to the GO trains, to the GO train stations and to the bus station. It's a very simple solution. It's not brain science. Right now, as it stands, you would have to walk from your home, get on a Viva bus on Yonge Street or a YOT. Then it would drop you off right at Yonge and Wellington, or at Yonge and Green Lane, or at Yonge and Davis, and you would have to take another bus to get to the GO train. Does that make any sense to you?
So one of the things we've isolated really is it is about convenience. We're looking for an answer how to get me onto the subway. It's about convenience. I don't think it's something that's about price. I think there are a number of factors. I don't think it's as price sensitive as other people may believe. I think the average person you can see it in every area of the economy, people will pay for quality.
Well, that's it. They have to feel they're getting value.
That's right. And so when I was in Montreal, I would use their subway system. It's beautiful, it's air conditioned, it's quiet. It's not overcrowded. It doesn't stop all the time. It reaches into the communities. In Toronto, I'm right by the subway system, right by the subway line. I won't touch it for all the reasons that I just mentioned. If they increase the price a couple of dollars, it wouldn't make much difference to me as long as it's something that I would want to use. For all the other reasons, I would use it. So one other thing that you'd mentioned, I believe it is all about the subway. I think if you want people to use mass transit in a city the size of Toronto, it is all about the subway. I don't think Viva is the answer. I don't think any of these bus systems is the answer. You need to get people to the subway or get the subway to the people.
Because, Viva costs the system so much, and I don't know about where you guys are driving or living, but the Viva buses in my area, there's often 2 or 3 people on the buses. I almost feel that it would be cheaper to give these people a voucher for a taxi than to have them on the Viva buses. And the Viva buses don't look like they even seat very many people.
I
it's
have
these
Viva
big coach
buses
chairs.
going in some areas in my ward, and they're completely empty.
I have the numbers right here. I was actually looking at them. And I live in the Bathurst corridor. And some of these buses are boardings and lightings. We're talking 2 people a day, 3 people a day, 5 people a day. It can't be cost effective. And I don't understand why the government doesn't take the funds that were spent on Viva, is now being spent on a rapid transit system, and use it towards subway extensions. There'll be a much more effective way to get. Well, I kind of understand why. Or even GO train.
And I'll tell you why. Because you get anyone who gets on a GO train in the morning, it is absolutely packed, solid. We had recently GO train a pilot project on the weekend, and from what I understand, it didn't go well. I would have rather taken that and put more trains during the week when people really need them to go to work. Yeah. That is a plus. Having a GO train on the weekend is a luxury that in times that are not if we don't have times of austerity, then yes, I support it. But we're living in times of austerity. Use that money and do something intelligent with it.
Part of the problem, Maddie, is it doesn't seem like the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. We have all these different government departments and ministry. Yeah. And, I think you were telling me that on Davis Drive that with all the different, departments and that are involved in building on Davis Drive the bus-only lanes, that they forgot that there's hydro wires that they have to move or they have to bury.
Absolutely. And the public is not very aware of this. What had happened in Davis before, they ripped up the streets to put in a dedicated bus lane, which, by the way, is dedicated only for Viva buses, not for YRT. So now we've got, which again, governments, we've got 2 different groups, and are they not working together? Anyways, a dedicated bus lane is a dedicated bus lane, not a dedicated bus lane for a certain company. Yeah. Anyways, they ripped up the streets, and they decided, for whatever reason, we had all the stakeholders. We had the region, we had the Newmarket Council, we had the mayor, we had the regional council, we had all, the province, and Newmarket Hydro. For some reason, nobody thought of burying those hydro wires at the same time. So now we're in a situation where we've got these ugly hydro wires, and yes, we are currently in the process of looking at burying those. But who do you think who's going to pay for that? It's going to happen. It's going to be paid by Newmarket residents. They're trying to find other ways to fund it. It's a very expensive project, but the problem is that it's owned. We own our own hydro. So because of that, we have to pay for it.
Yeah, it all ends up on the taxpayer's back, and there is only one taxpayer. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about those dedicated bus lanes and what can be done. So we'll see you right back after this break. Thank you.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
I faced it. I have Alzheimer's disease.
My diagnosis has let me get on with my life my way.
The more we we learned about my grandfather's dementia, the more we could face the future and make plans.
My husband Tom and I spoke to our doctor right away.
I have Alzheimer's, but it doesn't have me.
I faced it, so can you.
Well, hello, I'm Jeff Moore.
And I'm Elaine Yim Spencer. Wednesday on Daytime, Pathways to Perennials tells us all about their upcoming 9th annual Art and Jazz Charity Garden Party this Thursday.